We are here for zipForm Fundamentals Training. zipForm is your packet making, e-signing, mobile-friendly integrated form solution that PPR is providing to you as part of your tech stack that's included with your membership. And then Lone Wolf Workspace is what our brokerage compliance team uses to approve your docs, close out, and fund your transactions. And that's how they work together. Obviously, you don't have to use zipForm, but you're here because you want to see how it works. And it's free, included with your membership. But you can choose any other form solution that you're comfortable with. All right, so in this training, you're going to learn what the connecting zipForm inside of Workspace Transact looks like. You're going to get a tour of the platform and the navigation bar. You're going to see creating a transaction and then adding a form from zipForm. Plus, you're going to see how to create an e-sign through the AuthentiSign package. All these instructions that we're going through and all the help that you need is also available in Workspace. If you go to shared docs through that little hamburger menu in the top left, and you can search any word, including zipForm, and that will pull up any documents that we've shared with you in there that will help you with zipForm. And that's how shared docs works. All right, that is it from me. I want to say welcome to John Ashley and let him get started. Thanks, John.
Thank you so much, Nikki. That's always she always gives me such a great introduction, and I really appreciate it. She should introduce people for TV shows or something like that. I really think so. She's really good at it. So, especially on an early morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Groundhog Day. Good morning, everybody. Happy Groundhog. No, I'm not going to do that joke. It's bad. It's like you haven't had enough coffee in you just yet, right? So let's go ahead. We're going to be digging into zipForm today. And I just want to start with just kind of a quick introduction. What is zipForm? What's its purpose? So zipForm is your library of your forms, and it is your e-sign solution. Now, zipForm itself is also its own transaction management system, and you can use it as its own transaction management system. But your office has given you an amazing product called Workspace, and Workspace can help you in managing your transaction. It also is very helpful for compliance purposes for your office. So that's why we have two different integrations here, two different transaction management systems. Workspace is there because it's an amazing compliance tool. Plus, it helps you integrate with a lot of other features within you there as well, the forms, the documents, and being able to connect. And so it connects you with a lot of different areas. And then zipForm, its primary purpose is your library of forms and your e-sign solution. There was a little confusion about that yesterday, kind of going back and forth about, okay, well, what is zipForm? What's its purpose? So I just want to help you real quick with a quick introduction on that. I'm John Ashley. I'm from Kansas City, so I'm always glad to be able to connect with all the Florida team down there for Premier Plus. All of you are really wonderful. As Nikki said, ask questions. I'm here. Put those questions in as you think about them, and then we'll make sure and go together. All three of us will go together and answer all of those questions, okay? Some of those questions, Nikki and Jessica are wonderful. They will actually answer them along the way, but many of them we'll save them to the very end, and we have plenty of time left over at the very end to go ahead and answer any questions that may come up. Also, I want to mention, just like Nikki said, just sit back, watch the training. You can take notes if you'd like. Don't try to do this at the same time. A lot of people have tried to do this at the same time, and unfortunately, they usually get lost. This is being recorded. I am going to go slow. I'm going to try to go slow so everybody, it's very easy for you to follow and take notes along the way for those people that like to put pen to paper. But like I said, a lot of people usually will get lost if they try to do it at the same time. So what I would suggest is go through this with me live, ask questions as they come up, and then when the recording comes out, put the recording on a separate screen and just take it step by step with the recording. It's the easiest way to do it. I learn very easily that way, and I know many of you also, you visual learners out there, you also learn that way as well. So let's start by getting into Workspace itself. So you're going to log into Workspace. And when you log into Workspace, it's going to take you to this beautiful start menu here. You're going to see all kinds of great, you see it's a little bit old here. You'll see all kinds of links and things that numbers that you need, primary phone numbers, the links that you need to get around. news that you need to know about what's happening within Premiere Plus as well in zipForm. So all of that will be on your start page. And we're going to head up to the Transact menu. So at the very top, you're going to see a button that says Transact. So we're going to click on that. And that will immediately take you to the screen where you can create a transaction, or you can go to your list of active transactions. So you can choose either one. If you haven't created a transaction yet, you can create a transaction. You can also create a test transaction. So if you haven't created one in the system yet, it's always a good idea just to create a test one, maybe call it, 1, 2, 3 test or something like that, and just go through the process of creating your transaction. And then you can delete it at the end. No worries, not going to cause too many issues. And then if you have already created a transaction, you'll just select the active transaction over here on the left-hand side. Either way, whichever path you choose to go, you're going to either select into the transaction that you would like to open up, or you'll go through the process. It'll be a very easy step-by-step of creating your transaction, okay? What it does is, if you haven't created a transaction in Workspace, it actually takes you through a very easy question process where it says, okay, is this residential, commercial? Is this buy or sell side? And then it goes through a list of questions like, what year was it built? And does it have lead based? Do we need a lead based paint disclosure? And is there an HOA? So it's a very, very easy process. And we actually have a couple classes coming up later in February that cover creating a listing transaction and creating a purchase side transaction. So we're going to be doing that a little bit later in the month of February. We're not doing that the week of Valentine's. I know everybody's like, okay, gotta take some time off during that time. And so I'm not pulling out the candles and the hearts for a training on that side. So we're going to save that for the end of the month. And we do go through that process. So stick with us today, though. We're going to get your zipForm connected to Workspace. Very important, okay? So let's go ahead, and once you get it created, or once you open up an active transaction, you're going to immediately be on the summary screen, and you're going to see it's going to say not connected on that right-hand side. So it's going to say not connected. We're going to get this connected, okay? So we're going to head into the Documents menu. We're going to head to the Documents menu. And like I said earlier, the purpose of zipForm is that it's your forms library. So that's where we hold all the different forms that are coming from your different MLSs and the forms that are coming from PPRC as well. And it also is your e-sign solution. So we're going to go, you'll have that list of documents and forms that are required. You're going to go to Options on the right-hand side and Connect Form. Options, and then Connect Form. You're going to select Add Your Account. And when you select Add Your Account, it's going to create a 6-digit PIN code for you. It'll create that 6-digit PIN code there. Jennifer is asking a question that's very interesting, and I am going to talk about that here in a bit, Jennifer. So I just want to make sure you know. We'll get to that. Get back to you, okay? And it's just about if you're not seeing a document there. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But we'll have a 6-digit code here. Now, don't delete this page, okay? Just save it as a tab. Don't delete it. We're going to go ahead and open up a new tab, a brand new tab in Chrome, Safari, Firefox, whatever you use, a brand new tab, and we're going to go to zipformplus.com, zipformplus.com. You're going to add in your username and password. If you haven't logged into zipForm before, be sure to select either forgot password, or if you don't even remember your username, go ahead and select forgot username. This is a very important button to me. I've used this way more than I'd like to admit. So with all the passwords we have in life, right? So you're going to get logged in. If you forgot your username, you forgot your password, you can always select that. If you're logging in for the first time, you'll probably have to select forgot password. That way you can reset it and create one of your own. And so you'll get logged in. When you log in, the very first screen it's going to take you to is your transaction screen. More than likely, this will be blank, okay? So this will be blank. You're going to be in your transaction screen, and you're going to head up to Partners up there at the top, because Workspace and zipForm are a partner integration. They partner together to make it so that you can have your compliance and your forms and e-sign all put together very easily, okay? So when you think, okay, where do I go? All right, zipForm partners with Workspace. Simple enough, right? we're going to click on it. And we're going to go to link account. You'll see Workspace. It'll be at the very, very top up here on the left-hand side, right next to some of our other services. You can connect to zipForm if you'd like. And we're going to go to link account. Once you select a link account, that PIN code that we had earlier, and this is why I said don't delete it, keep that tab, okay? Because you're just going to copy it and paste it right here. Of course, you can write it down if you'd like, but it's a lot easier just to copy and then paste it, and then select verify and set up. So copy, paste, verify, and set up. And then it'll give you a message that says, thank you. Your back agent account is now connected to this account. And it'll actually say your Workspace account very soon. It used to be called back agent, but it'll say very soon your Workspace account is now connected to this account. This process that I just went through, you only need to do this once. So we're not going to have to do this for every single new transaction, okay? Do this one time. Once you complete that full process on there the first time, then you're going to go back into Workspace. You're going to go back into Workspace. It'll already be in the Transact screen for you, but if it's not, you'll head into Transact. You're going to go to your active listing, and you're going to open it up. And it will automatically say, and I'm going to go to a different one real quick just for a moment. If you connected it, it should automatically say on there that it is already connected. Okay, so in this circumstance, it might already be connected. For every new transaction that comes up as you're creating your new transactions, you're not going to have to go through that setup process again. But you will notice when you come in that it says not connected. The reason that is that you just need to create that transaction in zipForm as well. And let's do that together. So it says not connected. We're going to go here to our document section. Thank you, Jessica, by the way, for creating a couple transactions for me in the system. I really appreciate it. Saved me a little bit of time this morning. Unironically, I had a plumber that had to come check things out this morning, so I was running a little bit late as it was, and so everybody should have a Jessica and a Nikki on their team. I said this yesterday. I really, really mean it. They're both wonderful people. So you're going to come into your document section. You're going to go to Options, Create Form. It doesn't say Connect Form anymore because we already connected zipForm to Workspace. They're already partnered together. They're already integrated together. We just need to create this transaction in zipForm. So we created it in Workspace. We went through that full process. If you need to learn more about how to do that, don't forget, here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have classes on how to be able to create transactions in zipForm. But we're going to come here to Create Form, and you're going to create a brand new Lone Wolf transaction. So when you select Create New Lone Wolf Transaction, it's going to ask you the transaction title, the type, and the property type, and you're going to click Create Transaction Now. And then you're going to be able to start adding those forms that you need, okay? When you connect it, on that summary screen, that very first page, it'll now say connected. And that tells you, okay, not only did I create this transaction in Workspace, but now it's also created in zipForm. We had a couple questions, fair enough questions, that say, okay, well, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to connect the two on there? It's because you have to choose to move the transaction over into zipForm. And that's usually when you're ready to start getting things signed, is when you're moving it over into zipForm. That connection piece makes it so that zipForm can take all of those details that you filled out. Remember when you created the transaction and you answered all those questions? zipForm is going to take all of those questions and automatically take that information and add it onto your forms for you. So instead of you having to go through the process of adding the street address to every single form, instead of adding the seller's name to every single form, instead, it's going to take all this information, and now that it's connected to zipForm, it's going to automatically add it onto your forms. Really, really fantastic feature, right? So let's go ahead and put a listing agreement together. So I'm going to go here to Options. I'm going to create a form. If you run into a circumstance where it says found 0 forms, or if you run into a circumstance where, for whatever reason, maybe you have the wrong MLS set up currently, so maybe because everybody usually is defaulted to one particular MLS. For this account, it's defaulted to FAR. Now, I know some of you will also have the Royal MLS. This is a test account. This is not going to have every single MLS that's going to be available to Premier Plus. So don't worry if yours is not listed here. That doesn't mean you're not going to have that available to you. Okay. This is just the test account. But you can easily switch between the different MLSs here. So let's say that you are normally working in FAR, but for this one, we really need to pull up our listing agreement for Neighbor, or we really need to pull a listing agreement up from our PRC documents on there. And so you're going to be able to find what you need. Not only can you find what you need, you can also type in, just begin typing in a name, and it'll actually populate all the different ones that could be available to you. And so for this one, I think it's this one that I'm looking for, if I'm correct. Jessica, Nikki, you would know the FAR forms more than I would.
Yeah, this for the listing agreement, for the FAR, so you'll want to use less, like less is more when searching. So take out exclusive, because I've noticed it's and just type in list. It'll populate that way, I've noticed.
Oh, that's because it's titled EXCL. Okay, that makes more sense.
Right, and we'll use the transaction broker version there, John, for our state. But yes, as far as those that are familiar with app files, we had a lot of control over naming the documents, where in this case, because these are brought to us by the associations, we don't have control over the naming of the titles of the forms. So you'll just have to just use less information when searching for those forms, and you'll be able to find it.
And so, and the reason why it's that way, thank you, Jessica, for that explanation. The reason why it's that way is because we have actual signed contracts with each one of your MLSs that they provide us the forms that they would like for you to have available. That also means that when forms are updated, the MLS will send us those updated forms so that we can get them added into the system for you. So, you know, if each year they come up with some new wording or they make adjustments to it, we're going to receive that and be able to add it to the system for you automatically. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm going to have to add it in myself or something like that. You don't have to worry about that. We actually have those contracts with those MLSs, so they'll send those forms over. We have a legal right to have all those MLS forms in our system usable, and we have the legal right to be able to add all the details on there, like the seller's information and the office name and the property address and all kinds of other details that could go into this particular listing form. That's very important to note, that legal right, because there's a lot of applications out there that, yeah, they may have some of those forms, but because they don't have a signed contract with the MLS, they will not update those forms because the MLS won't let them know when updates come out. And honestly, some of those applications, they're getting in a little bit of trouble with the MLSs because they're not supposed to have those forms available unless the MLS gives them access. So that's why we have to use it through zipForm. That's why we have the library in zipForm, is because zipForm is the product that has the signed contracts with those MLSs. I know I'm probably explaining way too much for some of you on the call, but based on some of the questions that came up in the past, I just wanted to make sure and give the long explanation of why we do it the way that we do it. It's just to make it so that we are perfectly in the clear and that you're perfectly in the clear when it comes to using all these MLS forms that are available.
Right. It's always about compliance. We've
right.
Gotta be compliant.
Yeah, everybody understands compliance with the MLS, right? and so we have to worry about that too. And we want to help take care of you in that area instead of you having to worry about, is this form 2B the new one, or is this 2BC the which is the old one? Instead, we try to make sure and take care of all that for you so you don't have to worry about it. So once you select the form, and let me mention this real quick before I move on. When you create the form, some of you may say, well, that particular form library, whichever one is set as the default, that one isn't the right one for me. That's not the one that I use all the time. Because what happens many times too is that the system will automatically populate some of your forms as well, based upon what your primary MLS is. So some of you go, well, I'm in Neighbor though, I'm not really in FAR. Or maybe it's a completely different MLS entirely that's listed for you. You say, but FAR's though is not my primary MLS. you can actually change that, okay? We're going to have to change that in zipForm, but just follow me. We're gonna go simple step by step, okay? So you're going to log into zipForm. It'll take you right to your transaction screen, the very first screen, right? We're going to head up to your picture. It won't be a beautiful picture of Tom Selleck at the top right, like what they have, but you're going to select your picture, or it'll just be a little silhouette of a person. And you're going to head to Profile and Settings. Under Profile and Settings, go ahead and make sure that your information is correct. This is going to help you when filling out your forms. If you ever notice that your phone number is wrong or the email address is wrong, this is where you adjust that so that it doesn't happen within zipForms, okay, within those forms. So adjust that. And now you're going to head to your Forms section. And you'll notice the Florida Association is the very top one. And this is telling the system, and it's telling Workspace, this is the primary one that I use all the time. If you want to change that, push Organize, and then just drag to the top whichever one you use the most. And then you can also put them in whatever order you would like as well. So whichever one you use the most, drag and drop, push Done Organizing. Now back in this system, when you select to create a form, it'll actually pull the forms from the other MLS, not from FAR anymore. And when you go to the Add New Form, it'll put that as your primary, as the very first one that pops up, okay? I know not everybody uses FAR, and I know some of you are in completely different MLSs even from these that are selected. I'm just putting this back the way it was. And again, I just organize, drag it to the top, and then push Done Organizing. While we're here, there's one more setting that has come up that a couple people have run into along the way, and that's here in Settings. In Settings, there's going to be a time zone set for your e-sign options. Make sure that that says Eastern Standard Time. Some of you have been running into an issue where that has defaulted to the Central or the Pacific time zone. We are working on a fix for that it'll be able to read what time zone you're in. But until then, make sure that this is defaulted to Eastern time zone. Get that selected and then push Save, okay? So there are 3 areas in zipForm that you want to double check. About Me, just make sure your information's right. Forms, just make sure the one that you use the most is on top, okay? And then Settings, double check your time zone. Those are 3 really important things you need to double check while you're in zipForm, okay? Now, let's get back into creating a form together. So I have a form that I started. So I'm going to go back to Create Form. By the way, if you ever exit, let's say you're working on a form and you need to come back to it later, so you exit out of it, you'll notice it says LW Form, which tells you that you started working on a form. So I just go back to Options and go to Create Form, and it will take me right back to that previous page. From here, I will then fill this out. Every blue box here, excuse me, blue, every yellow box, colorblind much this morning, right? So every yellow box is fillable. And so you can fill this out with all the different information that you need. It even has check mark boxes that you can include. So you can go ahead and get everything put together the way that you need. We also have a couple really great features here at the top. So first we have the send to email. So if you want to email this out first, you can. You can save this as a PDF. This is important. So for some of you that prefer wet signing where you're using ink, ink to paper there to be able to get this signed, maybe they're sitting in the room with you and they want it printed out to sign. My parents are old school. They don't like to do electronic signatures. They want to do everything in person. I understand that. And so what you'll do is you'll go ahead and fill this out, get all the information in there. That way, all the text, instead of you having to sit there and get a hand cramp, writing in every single little detail that you need to add in, instead, it'll add in a lot of information for you, and then you'll go through and add in the rest of the details, and then go to Save as PDF. You'll save it as a PDF, and then print it out. And so now you have a beautiful copy printout where all they need to do is sign it. You don't have to go through and add in, like I said, all the written details that need to get added in because you already typed it in. Simple as that, right? Fast Fill is a wonderful option. Instead of where you see everything listed here, if you go here to Fast Fill, it'll actually make it so that you can very quickly come in and add in details. So like personal property included, I can come in and type in what I want to include, listing price. Let's just do, oh, Jessica created this home. I'm sure it's beautiful. So I'll do 650 on there. So, you'll go through and you'll add in all the details that you can. And when you add the details into these boxes and go back to viewer, it'll not only add it to that particular section, but anywhere where there is a listing price, it'll actually add it not just to this form, but all of your forms. So this is a great feature to be able to add information in very quickly. We have the NA field, so not applicable, of course. Sticky notes, if you want to take some notes on what you're doing on here. You can preview this if you would like beforehand to see how it looks. You can also choose to print from here as well. So this is another way to quickly print this out. We have the addendum option where you can attach addendums. Spell check, great option. I use it pretty often. In telecopy here, you can highlight particular text. You can also go to more to strike out particular text or undo or redo changes that you have. So real quick with the highlight and the strike through though, make sure and follow your local and MLS regulations. If your local MLS or your local area does not allow those features, just make sure and double check so that you don't accidentally use them on any of your documents and forms, okay? So now that we have this put together, we're gonna go ahead and send it over to eSign. So I'll go to eSign at the top, create new. If you use DocuSign, you pay for DocuSign separately because we don't own DocuSign, so we can't automatically add that. But if you use DocuSign, this is where you would send it over to DocuSign, all right? What's been provided to you, though, is the AuthentiSign solution. So I would definitely try AuthentiSign first before you continue to have to pay for DocuSign every single month. AuthentiSign is a really fantastic solution. It actually has a couple more features than even DocuSign has. So let's take a look at this together. But I will say, if you want to use DocuSign, it is available. You just send it to that alternate eSign. So we'll go ahead and send a new AuthentiSign. You're going to name this whatever you would like. So I'm just going to call this a listing agreement. And then you're going to push create. Okay, perfect. So everything that you pre-filled out will come in. You'll notice all the yellow boxes, though, disappear. So you do need to make sure and get that pre-filled out before you send it to eSign, okay? Because it will go away. Next, we're going to add our participants. So you can add yourself. Probably a good idea to add yourself in there. So you'll just go in, make sure your information is correct, and push save. And then you're the listing agent. You're going to want to add from your transaction. So if you created contacts in your Workspace transaction, you can easily come in and select that person and add them in as well. You can also add from your contacts. In this circumstance, this particular agreement needs a broker signature, okay? And so what you're going to do is you're going to add in the email, and everybody will have this as a contact, the broker at pprmail.com. Everybody's going to have this as a contact. You're going to select them and add them in as a remote signer. And then you'll say listing broker, okay? So in circumstances where the broker needs to sign the document for you, what you're going to do is you're going to add that contact, broker at pprmail.com, and you're going to set them as the very last person to receive this. The way that you do that is you hit up here to the top where it says set signing order, and you drag and drop the order based upon your preference. And what you're going to do is you're going to add that broker as the very last person to sign. Okay, it's a very important step. So for documents and forms where the broker needs to sign, make sure and add them as the very last signer. Okay, I would also suggest adding yourself as in between the client and the broker. That way you can double check to make sure everything is correctly added in before you send it over to your broker. Nothing worse than your seller, your buyer forgetting to add a check mark in a couple places or forgetting to add some details in a place. and then you send it over to the broker and they're like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So save yourself some time and effort. Just add yourself between the signers. Just make sure you're either as a reviewer or as a signer. By reviewer, what I mean is when you add yourself as a contact, if there's nowhere that you need to sign the document, you're going to come here to, signer type and select yourself as a reviewer. Unlike a signer who actually needs to perform an action on that document or form, a reviewer is someone who just needs to review and make sure that everything is in order, and then they can approve or not approve the document or form. I also have worked with seller attorneys or buyer attorneys where they need to be set up as reviewers as well. So this is where you would set them up as a reviewer, okay? And again, they're not signing anything, they're not initialing anything. They're just there to approve or not approve the forms and documents. You can also set up a CC carbon copy. They just get a copy of it after everybody else has completed their signature process, okay? We're going to go ahead and select to save. You're going to notice an exclamation point by Mark Seller here, and that's because Mark Seller is missing an email address. Email address, very important. We're not sending this out via USPS because there's no guarantees it would get to where it needs to go, and it would take a long time. So let's send this out via electronic email signature by adding in that email address and pushing save. If there's something else that you missed for Mark, you can always make adjustments to that here as well. All right, so now that I have my signer set up, with the broker set up as the last signer, like I said, very important in the areas that they need to sign, set them up as the last signer. You'll notice on your forms, it will automatically add the initial sections. And like I said, this is already a contact in every single person's account. So you just go to add participants, add from contacts, and they're going to be there for you to be able to choose. Okay. So once you add your signers on your forms, it'll automatically add in the initial portions, and it's going to add in all the signature portions as well. So I have my seller signature, and I have my authorized sales associate or broker. So I have both of them right there for them to be able to sign. Okay. Moving on to docs. So right now I have one form selected. If there was an additional document I needed to add for whatever reason, maybe an addendum of some sort, or I'm going to add a document as an example. Just using this as an example, I have another exclusive right to represent that I like to use. I'm using this just as an example, so don't stone me for the example, okay? But there's a purpose in behind using this. But anytime that you need to add an additional document, you can add documents. Now you may go, okay, why does he keep saying documents and forms? Isn't that a synonym? Aren't those the same thing? So for our system, forms are going to come from your MLS or your office, and they're going to be pre-filled out with all the listing information, and they're going to have all the signature portions already added in. A document's going to come from your computer, or maybe it was uploaded, like an offer sent to you from an agent, right? Someone sends you an offer. It's not something that will automatically have all the signature portions added in. It's not going to have the details added in. You're going to actually be able to use tools to be able to help you add those items in. Before I get to that, though, let me talk about just a couple features in the documents. You can replace or remove the file if you need to. You can also adjust the order that the documents are in. So let's say that you uploaded, maybe you uploaded an offer, but you accidentally switched up page 2 and 5 or 1 and 3. You can actually drag and drop them into the order that they need to be in. You can also select particular pages to delete them. One example it's the best example that I have. I use it every time. Jessica and Nikki by now have heard this example so many times, they'll probably never forget it. But an example where an offer comes in and you have a cover letter that includes contact information and has the life story of the buyer on there. I'm sure some of you have seen some pretty crazy cover letters. Along the way, I've been able to collect a couple that have way more detail than they probably should. I don't need your TikTok handle on a cover letter for an offer, okay? So if it's a circumstance like that, you can always choose to actually select a particular page and delete it. Just make sure it's not a page that needs to be signed for whatever reason, okay? So just using that as an example. But now that our documents and our forms are in order, we're going to head now to tools. Now with your forms, it's already going to have all of the different initial portions and the signature portions added in. So you're not going to actually have to use the signer actions and signer fields to add that in yourself because it's already going to be added in. With a document that you've uploaded, on the other hand, you are going to have to come in and add items such as their name. So signer fields has fields like full name and email address. And I put their name in the wrong place. And auto date. These features are not going to populate into the form and into the document until after that person comes in to start signing. So their name, email address, the date, the auto time, as soon as they come in to start signing, those will auto populate. Okay. Markup, on the other hand, allows me to add particular text to a document that's going to be on the document the entire time. So this can be used in, for example, I'm missing my office name here, so I can add my office name. Or it can be used in fields where maybe you missed something on a form. Maybe you forgot to fill something out, like this additional terms here. Maybe you need to add in a text box to be able to add those additional terms in. So you can use that in both examples. Also, we have signer actions. Signer actions means that they need to actually perform an action for it to be completed, such as a signature. So I can add a signature here. We also have initials, text lines, and then we have radio choice options and checkmark boxes. Radio choice and check marks are a little bit different. So with a radio choice option, you can choose, it's one to many. So you have to choose one out of however many options. In this case, I have 2 options, but if I had more, I could go to plus, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, however many options that you need for that particular question. And the key is that signer has to choose one out of those many options, however many options you create. They have to choose one. Checkmark box, on the other hand, you can either make it required or optional. So if it's got a red square around it with a red star, this means the signer has to push this or they cannot complete the signing. They have to push it. If it's an optional circumstance, just click on it and turn off the requirement. So if I want to make this optional, not required, I left click and I turn on or off the requirement. Okay. So I can make that optional, or I can make it so they have to choose it. And it's just a one-to-one option there. So it's not one to many. It's just you're choosing if it's required or not. You can add multiple checkmark boxes if you'd like, but it's not going to, unless they have a requirement marked on those checkmark boxes, they don't have to push them if you leave them optional. Okay. For the next section, I'm going to move to myself. And by myself, I mean literally myself, where I can pre-sign and pre-initial my documents and forms. So I just went ahead and added my name onto this document. My name is now on there automatically. I don't have to come in and add it. And then down here, I need a sign. So if I click sign here, it's going to ask me to acknowledge that I am using electronic signature solution, that I agree to using it. And then I need to create my signature. And we created a beautiful Picasso signature in the past. But you do have options for styles that you would like to use, or you could upload. So if you have a stamp, if they use like a stamp signature, they can actually upload that if they'd like. Or they can do like what we did, and we drew out just a beautiful, beautiful menagerie that was definitely not created by a 2-year-old. So add that in, draw it out. I will say, if people prefer, if you have a signer that prefers to actually draw out their signature, a mobile, like a tablet or a mobile device, is probably going to be the best solution there. It's a lot easier to drag a finger than it is to try to drag a mouse. So then they're going to set the signature. And then for you, you're then going to drag and drop the signature where it needs to go. And then you can also do that with your forms. So in areas where you need to fill this out, so let's see here. I am, what color again? I'm yellow. Okay, so in areas on the form, I can actually delete those areas and just go ahead and add it in. Instead of me having to come in and get an email saying, hey, you need to you need to get this done. Instead, it's already done. I don't have to worry about getting an email telling me to sign this stuff. It's already signed and ready to go. Next, I have my own name. One question I get pretty consistently is about execution dates or dates where you have to fill in the full month, day, year. So instead of 2/2/23, I actually have to put in February 2nd, 2023. And what we're going to do in that circumstance, we're going to add what are called text lines. Text lines allow me to add in whatever text I would like to use for this box. And so I'll drag it and I'll make it the size that I'd like. And I'll do the same for this other one. And what I'm doing is I'm saying when the signer, the seller, gets their portion done there, I'm going to receive an email and then I'm going to add in those dates. Okay. And then last but not least, you can always add in if your broker needs to sign something as well. So like David here, you can always add in a signature for David as well. So there we go. And like I said, if the broker needs to, you're going to send it to broker@pprc.com and you're going to set them as the very last signer. Now, I painstakingly created this, right? I added all the signatures and the dates and everything in here. What if I wanted to save myself a little bit of time and make it so that I could quickly add these items with just a couple clicks? And that's why we have what are called layouts. So under layouts, you can go to layout options and select create layout. You're then going to name the layout whatever you'd like. And then the next time you use this document, even if it's on a completely different transaction, next time you use this document, just go to layouts and select apply layout, and then choose that layout that you had, the layout that you created. When you do that, it'll automatically add in the name of the signer, their email address, the dates on there. It'll add in the text boxes. It'll add all of it for you, so you won't have to add it in. This is especially great. Remember how I keep talking about offers? With offers, you have to upload it. Sometimes they fax it to you. Sometimes they email it. And so it's not going to have all those signature portions added in. It's not going to have the layout created. So once you go through and add in all those initial portions, the signature portions, then save that as a layout for the future. So you just go in, you click it, you apply it, and then you're done. Okay. From here, I can print or download or I'm going to go ahead and I can push next to send this out. It's going to, it'll have an expiration date. I can customize the invite, hey, Mark, really love working with you. You don't need to add your signature. That's going to already be on the email, but you can put in a message if you would like to send over to Mark or whatever signer you're working with. So then you'll push send and it will immediately go out to whomever is set. And when you click send, it is going to take you into zipForm. And this is where you can, if you want to, track what is occurring with that document, okay? It'll come back once it's done. It'll come back signed. I'm just going to add a document here, a signed document. So for you, on the other hand, if you use the electronic signature solution, it'll already have it signed. And you'll see on here, signed. It'll say signed on it as well. And it'll have a lock there with the PDF, okay? Another way to track it, before I say that, another way to be able to track, not in zipForm, each time someone completes their part of the signing, you're going to get an email and it'll say signing updated. So you don't have to do anything else in zipForm. You don't have to track anything. You don't have to walk through anything in zipForm. You're going to get an email letting you know, hey, they got their part done. And then at the very end, you're going to get a signing complete once everybody's completed their part. So once Mark's got his part done, you finished your part, and then, Mark is my signer here. And then once you send it over to the broker and they got their portion completed, you're going to get a signing complete email where you can download this if you'd like. You can also download the signing certificates for your own records if you'd like as well. When you get this email, signing complete, you're going to head into Workspace. And where it says options, we're going to now attach the completed documents and forms. So I'd go to attach document. If it was sent to you, like I said, you can download it if you would like, and then just upload it That's one way to be able to do it if you would like. You can select the file if it's one that you've already uploaded to Workspace, or you can always import it from zipForm itself. And so you can come in, you can find where it is, if it's been completed on there, then, and so it's right here, mine's completed right here. I can push attach file. I then choose what pages I want to include. So if it has, multiple, this is helpful, especially if you're uploading a document, like I said, in a circumstance where it's an offer, where they sent it to you and it's like a, a signed document on there. You can choose which pages to upload, especially if they have a full packet put together. And so you can go through and pick what pages to include, push on their create document. And then you have a couple options, status options. If everything is done, like in this circumstance, everything's done. I signed it, my seller signed it, and the broker signed it. So I don't have anything left to do. I can push on there on file, signed and executed file, fully complete. If it's a disclosure, a lead-based paint disclosure, where yes, my seller signed it, I signed it, but later on the buyer still needs to sign it, when you get that offer in and when you're going through that process, then what you're going to do is you're going to put in not signed, one or more signatures missing. Okay. Incomplete means that something is missing from the form or document itself that you need to go back and adjust. Draft, this is just something that you're working on. And then if you are uploading a file that's a wet signature, we do have that ready for broker signature option. But you could always send it through Authentisign, even documents that you've uploaded, like I mentioned, to be able to send that over for them to sign as well. Okay. If you do have that option, be sure to let them know, the broker team there know, so that they can get that signed. And so you'll push save document and quit whenever whatever you need done. This one, it's complete. So I'll just put save document and quit, and we're good to go. It's on file, it's connected. I am good to go when it comes to compliance. Everything has been done for that particular document, that particular form. Okay. I didn't mention this, and I do want to mention this real quick. In zipForm, if you create, like I had a form and I had a document, it'll actually come back as two signed individual forms and documents. So if you have a packet of 5, you have a packet of 4 that are all put together, you can come in and actually be able to, when it comes back to you signed, it'll upload each one to zipForm separately. So when you come in and attach it, it'll actually be able to have all of them separated out instead of you having to try and pick through, which ones you need to include. Now, I want to include Jessica in on this. Jessica, I know you sent me that video over there and I watched through it. I appreciate it. But you're the one that came up with the solution, because one thing that we're working through right now in Workspace, and something that we want to have available for you in the very near future, is a really easy way to put together a packet of forms. So that's something our developers are working on right now, to make it so that you can very easily put together multiple forms to send out for signing at the same time, instead of sending out each one individually, one at a time. Until then, though, Jessica has a great workaround that, Jessica, I don't know if you want to share your screen, or you could actually, you may have the option for remote control if you want to take control of my screen.
Yeah, let's see if I can take control.
I'll approve you. I trust you.
Thanks. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to show is, I just want to here, I'm going to just kind of remove this document for the time being. But in that sense, when you're going through these items here, you can go in and you can create your form. And, we already worked on this form, so we're going to have this added to our workspace that we're working on it, right? So we can exit out of that, as John shared with us, and it shows us the LW form that's still sitting in here that we can edit. Now, if I move down to the second placeholder here for the affiliated business disclosure, and I choose options, create form, I can go into add new form. And then the PRC library, that's all of our in-house forms. So I will type out, affiliated. I'll select that form. And by doing that, it's adding it to our zipForm transaction. So I can automatically add it into that signature request. And so as you see, there's not much more that has to be done on that document because it already imported the information. And so I can exit out and I can essentially move through this list just to have the forms there available. I could even add, let's say, for example, you are related to the seller in this case, and you needed to add an additional placeholder so you could create that form. You have actions here in the top right corner. You can add document requirement, and then you can search through these pre-created titles we have. And for example, like listing agreement, that's letting us know it's already a part of our documents list. But here, if I choose disclosure of licensee interest, and I want to add that requirement, it now gives me the ability to go in options, create form. And then again, I would just go into adding a new form because I don't need to use an existing one. And we'll search for the, let's see, disclosure of licensee interest. You know, so you can kind of get the gist of being able to create the forms where it starts to fill this information out. You would complete that. But then if I really wanted to, I could stay in this document. I could start the e-signature process and go into create new. I'm going to send it to the new AuthentiSign. You know, this is going to be your folder. So be specific with that because it will get confusing when you have a lot of signature requests that are being signed. But for this case, I'm just really wanting to show you the process where once you're in AuthentiSign and I go into docs, let's say here, when I drop down, add a document or form, those are now able to be pulled from my transaction. I can add those, I can close this. And then if I drag and drop this, I can get my listing agreement right in the very top. I've got my licensee disclosure right after that. So there is a nice way for you to be able to create multiple forms and get them prepared for signature request. And you just continue on to send it, you know, set up your signers, add any additional tools you need, and then go through next to send those invites out. And that was it. I'll stop taking control.
I was trying to take the mouse back so I can unmute myself. That is fantastic, Jessica. No, really, thank you. That's a really great workaround. Until we have a really easy way to do it, which, like I said, we're working on that. We're going to be able to have that integration where it's a really easy process. But until then, that's an excellent way to do it. So just again, you just go in and you create the different forms and you go through the process of choosing the form, making sure that you have everything put together the way that you need it. So, you know, making sure that it's completely filled out, then exit and do that for all the different forms you need. And then for the very last one, going in, I'm just reiterating here, Jessica, that fantastic process you had, going in and going to e-sign and then adding it through e-sign. So that's really fantastic. Another question that came up, if you're creating, so if you have, and I can answer this because we're talking about this right now anyways, if you have a circumstance where it's a document that needs to be uploaded, but you still needed to get it signed, like the offer example that I've given multiple times, still go in, go to options and create the form and select a form. Doesn't matter which one you select to get, and then make sure and go over into AuthentiSign. And then when you're in AuthentiSign, that's when you're going to add it from your computer. You're going to go to upload import. You're going to add it from your computer, that offer or whatever document that you have. And then just delete the form that you use. You know, you're just grabbing a random form right there. You're just trying to get into the AuthentiSign system. We are creating a better workaround where you can go directly in to AuthentiSign to add documents. That's something else that we're working on getting created as well. But until then, just grab a document, just grab a form, go to that options, create form, and grab a form, get into AuthentiSign, and then upload the document and just remove whatever form you grabbed. So that's, I know that's an extra step there, but like I said, we're creating and working on integrations to make it so that it's going to be a lot easier. You won't have to add that. You'll just go straight into AuthentiSign instead. Yeah, and basically, Juan there, just basically do any form and then upload it once you get into Authentisign. Yeah, great questions. And then Linda says, does that mean each form needs to be separated? So no. So after you get it to Authentisign, each document and form and send it out, zipForm is going to come back, just like I said earlier, with separated out documents and forms instead of having it all in one packet. The only time that you need to separate it out like that is a circumstance where someone has emailed you over a packet of 20 pages or whatever and has X number of forms in it. That's when you're uploading, you're going to have to actually choose particular pages out of that packet. Okay, so the system doesn't automatically read it and go, yeah, this page 1 through 5 is the listing agreement, page 6 through 7 is this. It doesn't do that. You'll then choose it for a circumstance where you're uploading from like a fax that was sent over to you or an email that was sent over to you. If we have training resources to assist further, so if you would like, you can always head into Learn at the top of the page, and we do have some additional resources. We have additional resources that we're even in the process of creating as well. Also, we have a wonderful customer care team that are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you call in, specifically ask for the Workspace team. So when you call in, say, hey, I would like to connect with the Workspace team and through Property Based Go. So it's connected with Property Based Go. So go ahead and ask for the Workspace team. They can send you over, and then they'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. And what's different about this team is that, unlike Jessica, Nikki, and I, they are not awake we are not awake 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They do have someone available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be able to assist. Even on President's Day, they're going to have somebody. So while all of you are out there showing homes on President's Day, because real estate agents never get a holiday, right? Except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's it. And even then, sometimes not even that. So we will have someone available for you to call or email if anything at all comes up, if you're having any issues at all. So I know 1 or 2 people have had a little issue with the signing pin, for whatever reason, not being able to get the signing pin, or they're having some difficulty. You can always call that team. For example, one of the calls that we got was saying that there has been some issues with Safari and Firefox, and our developers are working on making sure that there are no issues on Safari or Firefox. I'll tell you, pretty much all the developers use Mac computers, and so they want to make sure it works on Safari just as much as everybody else does. Okay, they're a little anti-Chrome, but it works fantastic on Chrome at the moment. But like I said, they are working to make it so that it's absolutely seamless, whatever browser that you use, to be able to pull up Workspace. Also, Workspace looks really great on a tablet. So if you use an iPad, if you use a Surface Pro, it works really well. It is very easy to use on a tablet. And you can use it on a phone. It gets a little small on a phone. I'll tell you that. It does get a little small on the phone. Signing documents is really easy on the phone, and you can actually easily increase the size of the text for signing documents. So if they want to sign it on a cell phone, they sure can. But of course, the text is still, it's on a phone. So the text is still going to be a little bit small, but it does look really great. And it's really easy to use on a cell phone if they want to sign from their phone. So if you have a circumstance where they're like, well, I'd really like to sign while they're sitting here with me, great. Send it to their email while they're sitting there, have them open it up on their email and just sign it right there on their phone. Or you can even, open up their email on your tablet or your computer to be able to do it that way as well. Okay. Scrolling through to see if there was any questions. Jennifer was asking about the recording. I'm sure that's going to be coming out really soon, right? So no worries about that.
Yeah, we just have to work on some edits, and then that will be sent out with additional resources too for everyone that's joined yesterday or today's training. And I see Juan has a question. I could not fill, he created a listing, but could not fill using the county site. Is that working?
As far as I know, it should be working. If you're having issues where county is not appearing for whatever reason, call our support team and they will connect with the forms team to make sure that the forms are working properly. We do, like I said, try to keep everything up to date with those MLS forms that come in, but every great once in a while something might be missed. It's, human error. There's humans doing the work. So, contact our support team if you're having any issues with any of the forms.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Jenny here has her question, physically signed forms process.
Right. So if let me pull this up real quick. Just as a quick refresher on there. So what I would still suggest doing, go ahead and still move the form over into the editor, pre-fill out all the fields that you need, go up here to preview, and then print it out. So if they want to do a physical signing, which I understand, I know a lot of people that prefer that method, you're going to still head into the editor, fill out everything you need to fill out so that everything is in nice, neat text. I don't know if your handwriting is as bad as mine. I have people that have assumed I'm a doctor at times, so that'd be fantastic. But no, it's so I would go ahead and type out everything, go here to preview, and then print it out. And then what you're going to do is when they complete their signing process, so you're then going to upload it to your computer, the document or form, however you upload. I know I use like an Adobe Scan app, or whatever scan app that you use. That's just the one I use. But whatever scan app you use, go ahead, scan it, and you're just going to go to options and attach the document. And when you attach it, just upload it from your computer. So upload now from your computer. And so that's how you do a physical signing, is that you're going to still send it to that editor so that you can type everything out and make it look really nice and neat, and then get it printed from there. They're going to physically sign it. You're going to scan it with whatever application you use. And then from your computer or tablet, whatever you're using, you're going to select attach document and then upload it from your computer, that scanned item. Good question. Just see here.
The Robert Fielder has his hand raised. We can allow you to talk, Robert, if you would like. So I will do that now, and talking has been permitted for you. Good morning. You just need to unmute yourself if you'd like to.
I said that is an accident that I accidentally hit question and answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
I understand.
That happens.
Yeah. Well, hello, Robert. That's really what you were doing. You were raising your hand to say hi. I appreciate it. Linda was asking, can you quickly review if you have to email something to Workspace? So you do have an option to be able to have items actually emailed into Workspace itself. You don't have to email anything to Workspace. It's not something you have to do. But if you would like to upload documents that way, if you scroll, so in my documents window, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see transaction email address. And if you email something, everyone's going to have their own email address. Don't use this one, okay? Everybody will have their own. I don't want Tom Selleck to suddenly get a bunch of different offers and different transaction important documents, okay? So go ahead and grab that email address and just use it as a CC. I wouldn't use that as your primary because it doesn't read. So if let's say you're waiting for the inspection report to come in, right? Tell the inspector to use this as a CC. That way, if they need to put an important note in the email itself, you can still read the email. What uploads to Workspace is just the document. Okay, so it doesn't upload all the different things that they wrote in the email. It just uploads the document. So you do have an option. And when that happens, all those documents are going to be right here. And that's why for every transaction, it'll have its own email address, because then that will tell the system, hey, send that document to this transaction. And when they do, it'll be right here where it says no unassigned files. You'll actually have an unassigned file you need to assign. And then when you receive it, you can go to options, attach document, and that's where that select a file from receive files inbox comes in. So if you do have something emailed into Workspace, you can use that if you'd like. You can, that's a good question. You don't necessarily need to connect it to Zip. In that circumstance, you just need to connect it to Workspace itself. Are you asking specifically about for AuthentiSign one, where you're trying to send it to the e-sign solution? Just want to
Yeah.
clarify. Okay.
Yeah, Juan's question in there, yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do in that circumstance is I would just receive the email to yourself, download it, and then, like I said before, I know it's an extra step. That is something that we are working on, as our developers are working on, to remove that extra step. But just go to create form, grab a random form, and then upload it to AuthentiSign right now, okay? Right now, that's the step you go through, but that's not going to be the step forever. That's just the current step. But in the very near future, you are going to be able to actually send documents out to AuthentiSign itself. So instead of you having to go through that extra step of creating a form that you're actually not going to use for the AuthentiSign part. Okay, that makes sense, Juan?
Yeah, and Juan put in a question just a little bit ago too, as far as, so we do have the PPR training platform where we have some pre-recorded tutorials in there. If you go, to learn, go back one, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
There, that will show you how to access it. But for our agents, if you're not familiar, all you have to do is click learn and then PPR training website at the bottom of that list there, and that will single session sign you in to our learning management system. And you'll see we've got the Workspace and zipForm training courses in there that you can, there's a couple 5-minute real quick videos, but there's also a couple of courses on preparing a listing transaction, as well as preparing a purchase transaction you can follow along. So it will break it out into the Workspace and zipForm integration tutorials. And then there is a zipForm only section for tutorials as well. So just understanding that Workspace is functioning on its own, zipForm can function on its own. And then what we're reviewing today is that bridge, this integration between the two softwares.
Right.
So then that way you don't have to log into zipForm essentially to work in that and get your forms done. You can just do all of that here in Workspace. So you'll see some similar, like a transaction email address in Workspace, as well as in your zipForm transaction one. So if you get a good flow, you can do it more than one way for your business.
And as a reminder, a little bit later in the month, we are going to be doing, so the 15th and 16th here, we're going to be doing creating a listing. And then the next week after that, we're going to be doing creating a purchase. So we are going to be doing all of those here in the very near future as well.
I did want to just add to Juan's question, his response there. The reason why we're trying to show you how to do this from Workspace and then using the integration of zipForm is because as you answer those detail questions and as you fill your contacts in the People tab, that information can populate your forms ahead of time, and then you can proceed without having to fill that in. If you work straight out of zipForm to build your transactions and build your forms and send them over to Workspace, that information will have to be re-added to your transaction in Workspace. It doesn't fill those people fields or those detail questions.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Nikki just said so excellently, so Workspace is going to be your transaction management system and your transaction compliance system. So that's why it's important. It has a two-purpose role there, not just transaction management, but it's also transaction compliance. That way you can make sure and get all the commission, everything put together properly, all the documents, and make sure that they're all put together. Even expense reports and being able to track your listing through checklist as well. The zipForm part, the zipForm integration into Workspace, zipForm is your forms library and it's your e-signature solution. Okay. Now, zipForm in its own right is a transaction management system. Okay. So it can manage transactions, but for your purposes, Workspace is a better integration for you because not only does it include the transaction management part, it also includes all the other wonderful tools that Premier Plus has provided, like the promote features, like the additional training features that they have available, like the connection features. All of those are also going to be available to you within Workspace, all in one place, where zipForm unfortunately does not have all of those available features with it as well. So that's why, so Workspace, when you're thinking about it, this is my transaction management and my transaction compliance system, excuse me, while zipForm is your forms library and your e-sign solution. So hopefully I stated that in a way that makes sense to everybody. I mean, like I said, I'm just adding on to what Nikki and Jessica are already saying. So hopefully putting it just cherry on top of this fantastic webinar here.
Yeah, and feel free to create test transactions. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, you're not going to mess up our systems and our processes. You know, it's once you put your documents on file is when our team will receive that notification to review your paperwork and approve it. But in the meantime, feel free to create a test transaction, you know, just put test in there so we know, and send your self-signature requests as if you were your clients, because it's going to be helpful for you to understand the process so you can walk them through it when you're getting your listing agreements executed or those offers. So have fun and you know, use the system and test it.
If you send something to broker at PPRC, though, make sure that they know, you know, 123 at Local Real Estate Lane isn't a real place. Okay, so if you're testing it out, just make sure to let them know. But beyond that, I've caused a little confusion sometimes with my own training transactions there. But yeah, I mean, test it. You're not going to break the system. I already did that, you know, months ago. So and we fixed that. So I'm joking, of course. So go through. You're not going to break the system. Test it out. Throw some fake transactions in there. Put it all together, and I think that you're going to find that this is going to make your life quite a bit easier. And like I said, I know it's different. I know different can be difficult, but this is going to, in the end, help you a lot. What some of the differences already I've mentioned. And just to reiterate some of those differences and the reason why the transfer over to the new system are things like compliance with MLSs and being able to have those forms updated on their own and make it so that you can more easily track compliance with your office so that they can be able to track everything that needs to occur on your transactions. So all of this is to make your life easier. I know in the beginning it's more difficult because you have to learn a new system, but give it a little bit of time, and I think that you're going to be pros very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And you know, Todd's right. You know, his experience. He says that he tells his clients that he's working with a new system, and just to be patient and understanding. And you know, that's perfectly okay to be able to do that. To let people know, hey, give me just a little extra time to put together that listing document. It just takes me a second to learn the system, but don't forget, you can create as many fake transactions as you need, and you can delete those transactions as well as you create them. So you don't have to worry about clogging up all of your transactions here. You can always come in and delete them if you need to as well. So just cancel the transaction. Okay, that's how you delete it. You just cancel it. So that way that you can be very seamless with your processes as you're talking to your clients. And you know, do it now. I know a lot of you are already looking at adding homes on the market at the end of February, getting real close, right? End of February, beginning of March. It's real estate time, right? It's when everything's going to start hitting the market, spring break, tons of people seeing homes. So test this out now, get used to it now. And like I said a couple different times, we're going to be having even more features available to you here in the very near future.
Okay, awesome. I just want to also point out again, we do have specific training February 15th and 16th on how to add a listing transaction into Workspace using zipForm. And then the 22nd and 23rd, how to add a purchase transaction into Workspace using zipForm. So get yourself registered for those. Just go to the Workspace event calendar and sign up for those. Let's see, one more question, is that right?
Yep. So let's see here. Basically, once we connected Workspace to Zip and checked our profile, that is all correct. We don't really need to open Zip. That's correct. Yeah, you don't really need to open Zip. The only time you would need to open Zip is if you change something like your phone number, or you adjust to a different MLS. Maybe you move, and now one MLS is a little better than the other MLS for you. But yeah, unless you need to actually change something in your profile, you really don't need to open zip at all. It's just there to house your forms, and it's there to make it so that you can use the Authentisign e-sign solution as well. So you're perfectly right.
All right, last call for any last minute questions.
Yeah, great questions today, everyone. Thank you.
Yes.
Everybody had their coffee, their espresso in. You know, 6 times a charm. I think this is the best group of all. So this is I'm joking. Every single person I've worked with so far has been fantastic. I love the questions that have come in. I love working with the PPRC team, and I know I am going to enjoy working with you all here in just a couple weeks with those new classes coming up.
All
Yeah,
right, we
wait.
will get this recording to the team that edits and processes them, and you will get this in your email, so then you can start doing what you do best.
Yeah.
Excellent. If they can
got
edit
this.
me in my best light, that would be, just make sure I.
Look for that
Thank you all.
recording by the end of the day in your inbox, and we will probably be sharing this as well to all the agents, so they get an updated version. So it will be posted on the Start tab in your Workspace, and then posted on the private Facebook group. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks, John, for your time. Thank you for
Thank you,
being here,
Nikki.
everybody.
Thank you, Jessica. Enjoy Groundhog Day. I don't know what you do for Groundhog Day. There's got to be something, right? So watch the movie. That's what you do. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.